How are you going to remember that? How are you going to remember Carmelo? Because I think LeBron James cast such a big shadow that Melo's impact on the game is maybe lessened, unfortunately, because of that.
Yeah, and the New York days.
Yeah,
in Denver, he was ascending. And Spadone, I was just talking about those Western Conference Finals against the Denver Nuggets and the LA Lakers when the Lakers won in 6, and Melo and Kobe were guarding each other, and Melo was being physical.
Fun teams. J.R. Smith, Chauncey Billups, Birdman.
Yep. Kenyon Martin, right?
Yep.
Kenyon Martin. Birdman. They had a fun squad in Denver.
Talk about someone who's had some life issues.
Right. But you know what? Had life issues. Bounced back and won a championship with the Miami Heat.
Totally changed his life.
It changed his life.
Yeah.
Was in the Big Three with Ice Cube's league.
Yeah.
And,
Don't judge a book by its cover.
No, but Melo kind of had one of those. His career is weird, right? He leaves Denver. He goes to New York City. Goes back home, right?
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Kumbaya. Carmelo's back. And he never has that success with the New York Knicks. Never got past the second round.
Fair or not, I feel like he will be judged for not just waiting until free agency to go to the Knicks. And basically, they had to trade all their assets to get him.
Yep, they gutted the team.
And he's kind of the reverse LeBron in that sense. Like LeBron's timing on when to bounce out of situations was always perfect. And then he would leave you depleted with no assets at the very end after he sucked all the resources. Whereas it felt like just to acquire Melo, New York basically absolved all of their resources.
Yep. And so he goes to New York, does it out of success. He gets into a Phil Jackson. And it was just
I forgot
bad.
about him and Phil
Jackson. It just didn't work out.
I totally forgot about that.
And then you had him getting traded to OKC, and it's the whole, hey, P, they want me to come off the bench. And he wouldn't accept that role. So he had to sit out a year. Remember that?
I do.
He had to sit out. He got cut by the Rockets early in the year. Now, quietly, I kind of wanted him on the Warriors. I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted him on the Warriors to be in the corner shooting those threes because he did have a jumper. But
it was good with the Lakers.
But that's what I'm saying. He signed with the Blazers, went to the bubble, revitalized and rejuvenated his career coming off the bench. Had some big bubble games, huge bubble games, including the 3 against the Rockets, against his former team. It was so cool to see. And then he came off the bench with the Lakers, had a solid season, and he was able to walk away on his own terms, peacefully, as he said. Peace. He's at peace. And it felt like Melo, after going through all those trials and tribulations with the Knicks and later on with OKC and coming off the bench and not playing in crunch time, felt like he did come at peace, got in the red wide, was a great Olympian, by the way, 3-time gold medal winner.
One of my favorite Olympians.
Yeah, great. He was awesome in that. And then, so we're going to remember him as a guy who didn't win a ring, no doubt. He's going to be in a conversation with Patrick Ewing and Karl Malone and Charles Barkley and all those guys, Allen Iverson.
Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn, Tony Gwynn, baseball, Reggie Miller, Chris Paul, you name it. But I remember Melo for being a great scorer in this league.
ISO, one of the better ISO scorers.
Oh, yeah, one-on-one, just could not
mid-range.
Physical, mid-range, back to the basket.
Yeah.
Could cross you over, could fly to the basket, hit the 3, step out, hit the 3. One of the best scorers we've ever seen in NBA history.
Yeah, I think that he's going to have a very...
it's going to be mixed.
Yes, very mixed bag. But I don't know. Let me ask you this. Would you rather have his career or Tracy McGrady's?
Ooh. I was watching Tracy McGrady highlights last night.
Were you?
I swear to God. Because something came up on my timeline. It was a quote from Kobe saying, yeah, he's like a bigger version of me. And the first highlight was Tracy McGrady. I swear to God.
Kobe.
And the first highlight, God, I love Kobe.
I know.
I do love Kobe. I love him so much more now as opposed to when he was a player. But the first highlight was T-Mac hitting the fake spin move on Kobe. Kobe falling back into the baseline to Tracy McGrady in the fadeaway. And I was like, I forgot how good T-Mac was.
Oh, he was amazing.
I forgot how good he was.
People forget he was amazing.
But we always say he couldn't get out the first round.
Exactly. Well, I look at James Harden, I guess, because you were talking about all the players that didn't win a ring. James Harden, man, he's another guy. He's got such a mixed bag. Clearly brilliant offensively, but clearly flawed as well.
Yep.
And I kind of view Melo the same way, which sucks because overall he's exceptional all time in terms of what his talent and his tools were. But at the same time, I think some of his flaws get overstated and you lead with the flaws as opposed to the strengths, which sucks.
And I just can't believe he retired.
Why, you think he could still play?
No, I'm thinking about myself damn, I'm getting old.
No, we watched his entire career.
Syracuse, When he made that run in Syracuse, Jerry McNamara, Hakeem Warwick, and they had the African kid.
What was it, Thermal or whatever was on that team too? They had some randoms.
That's a random dude, but Melo was special during that run, and they go win the national championship, and he sits there. And I remember the draft lottery. The draft lottery that year, you had LeBron and his boys at Cleveland, and Melo was with two of his partners in Baltimore. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he may have said, yeah, we knew Cleveland was going to get the number 1 pick. We knew it was kind of rigged, but it was like, man, is Melo going to go to Detroit with the defending champs?
Well, he's another guy whose life kind of played itself out on the front pages of social media. Him and Lala, like that is something that I always think about. I just saw a picture. I forget who was hanging out with her, but she was at the Miami Heat game recently, and she was on, I think it was DJ Khaled's Instagram page, because I follow DJ Khaled, another one. And I saw Lala, and I was like, man, Melo and Lala, that was a glamour relationship for quite some time.
It was. I always think about if Melo, what if he did get drafted by the Detroit Pistons?
They would have won more than what they did.
And then you would have had that built-in rivalry with Melo and LeBron in the Eastern Conference in the same division instead of being East and West, and you get the games 2 times a year. 19 years old, man, came in 21 points a game, 6 rebounds. Melo had a great career.
Who's higher on your hierarchy? I'm going to tell you now. I lean Harden over Melo. Who you taking, Harden or Melo?
I'm going to take Melo. Because I know Melo ain't punking out.
Okay.
Melo ain't punking out.
You think that Melo will be revered more than Harden as time goes on?
That's interesting.
Did you hear where I'm going?
Yeah, it's close. It's a great conversation. A lot of people may say James Harden. I'm taking Melo.
I'm going to lean Harden. I don't think there's a right answer.
Yeah.
I'm going to lead Harden. And plus, obviously, Harden's still playing.
Right. I'm taking Melo all day. I was a big Melo fan, man. Huge Melo fan. Let's go to Sid in Oakland. Sid, what's happening?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up, Sid?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so I just wanted to chime in on John Morant. You guys have passed it, but I was listening to Gilbert Arenas' No Chill podcast. I think you guys should check out the episode. He's talking about the John Morant situation.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, the guy that's holding the phone is the same guy that got banned from the Indiana Pacers game. So I guess he was affiliated with the trouble.
Oh, with the red light?
With the beat.
Yeah,
with the light. So that's one thing. Just to let you guys know, definitely check that episode of Gilbert Arenas. Second, I'm glad you guys are talking about Melo because it's funny that he had a chance to play with the Bulls when Derrick Rose was in his prime.
That's right.
But Lala didn't want to move to Chicago, and then she ended up taking. Started acting acted on Power and Spike Lee movie in Chicago. And last but not least, I have a question for you guys. Why is it that players like Melo and like Cousins and John Wall are probably going to have to retire the way they are? And who do you see out of the big three on the Warriors having to retire the way Melo did?
Wow.
Take care.
That's a hell of a question.
Well,
I think the obvious answer is Draymond Green, right? But I think he'll leave on his terms.
Wouldn't you agree that Melo's come to Jesus moment was accepting that he could be an elite bench player and all that?
Yep.
And I'm not saying that that's exactly what Klay Thompson should do right now, but I get metaphorically where you could see if he could accept variations of his role, he could age like Melo did.
Can I ask this question? Say if he did come off the pitch.
I don't even mean come off the bench.
But why are there so many people who think? It feels like a lot of fans, and I hear media members too, assume that Klay Thompson wouldn't be able to accept that role.
What do you mean? Well, because I think they're seeing a guy who publicly has been quite stubborn in the face of any criticism.
In terms of what?
Anytime you ask him about shot selection or anything, he scoffs at it. Anytime that you have asked about, how you're going to be able to share the basketball with superstars, and this is years
said that
past.
one time. He said that one time with Kevin Durant. It's like, I'm not sacrificing anything. What are you talking about? He did. He's like, I'm in the prime of my career. I'm good.
I think part of what makes him great, I mean, it takes one to know one. Part of what makes him great is his stubbornness, and part of, I think, what frustrates people with him is his stubbornness.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's unfair. We were talking about Ja Morant and psychoanalyzing him and being hard on him. I think it's unfair to Klay Thompson to assume that he wouldn't accept the lesser role. We just don't know that. He seems like the ultimate team. I mean, look, he's going to get his shots up, but we think about the way the season played out. And the way everything, you're Klay Thompson, right? We talk about egos all the time. You're Klay Thompson. Andrew Wiggins misses the last 2 months. Steph Curry's been out. And you've got to pick up the slack, right? You've got to become basically the number one option. It's like, Klay, save us. Klay, save us. Get us through January, get us through February, whatever. And then Wiggins comes back, and you're Klay Thompson, who's been with this organization for over 11 years. All of a sudden, Wiggins comes back, and it's like, hey, we need you to take a lesser role. Wiggins is back now. It's like, wait a minute, this guy left the team for 25 games. Now, I know it was personal reasons and whatnot, but why do I have to take a giant step back when you guys depended on me to get to this point?
Well, I would say, Klay, we started off the season last year 18-2, and then we actually all had to change our style of play when you came back from your injury, and we totally accepted it because of who you are and what you mean to the team. So can't you meet us halfway and do similarly what Wiggins did?
And if I'm Klay Thompson, I say, well, I did that in the playoffs. And by the way, coming off of 2 gruesome leg injuries, I played the most minutes. You guys counted on me to play the most minutes.
For sure.
And to play at a high level. And I did that my first postseason after being out for 2 years. I hadn't been in the postseason in 3 years. And I still helped this team win. So that's what I would say if I'm Klay. And who's to say he wouldn't accept? Like, that's the assumption that we're making. The assumption that we're making off a comment from 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
No, I'm making that assumption because Adrian Wojnarowski, before the first game of the playoffs, said that Klay was seeking a max contract. Now, whether that's accurate or not, that's all I have to go off. And I would say that combined with certain stubbornness in shot selection makes you connect dots.
But
fair
if
or
you're
not.
a player, why wouldn't you want the max? Doesn't every player want the max? Why? Like, to me,
of course they do.
That
I
information,
want the max.
That information, to me, it's not news.
What do you mean?
Klay Thompson would like to seek a max extension. Okay, sure, yeah. Okay, yeah. I got it. Draymond Green does too.
Yeah, but I think
Jordan
the
Poole
difference,
does too.
if we're going to compare old dynasties and things like that, the difference is like Manu Ginobili always accepted, whatever role that was available to him. And then obviously Tim Duncan took lesser money as time went on. And so, Tom Brady took lesser money. So guys acquiesce to make things work, whether financially or stylistically on the court in terms of their minute allocation. And these guys just haven't been pressed on that yet, and we haven't seen it. So I think we're assuming because we haven't seen it.
Yeah, and I think that's unfair when it comes to Klay Thompson.
Okay,
everything. I'm here for the bad shot selection because he did take terrible shots. Game 4 against the Lakers, terrible shots. I am here for hey, you're doing too much. Hey, you need to scale back a little bit. I'm here for that. I'm here for him saying, hey, look, I need to adjust defensively. I'm never going to be the same guy. Once the Achilles injury happened, I think it was safe to assume that he would never be the same guy defensively. Kind of all knew that. But we can't assume that, hey, he's not going to take a lesser role or lesser money because we haven't seen it yet.
Well, look.
I haven't seen it yet. I think there's a big factor here with his father. I really do. I think Michael Thompson comes into play here as his father. Now, I know you made the point that he may be different and he doesn't want to be like his dad or whatnot. But I think having Michael Thompson there as a guy who had to change his role. Remember, he had to change his role. He had to battle injuries. He was the number 1 overall pick. And by the time his career was 7-8 years deep, he's coming off the bench with the Lakers. And like Kurt Rambis will start. You don't think Michael Thompson at the time saying, I'm better than Kurt Rambis?
Well, everyone thinks they're better than everyone. Like, when I was doing nights, I thought I was better than everyone on air during the day.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with Klay Thompson saying, hey, I want a max deal. We don't even know if he wants a max deal. That was a report by Adrian Wojnarowski, probably floated by an agent. Klay Thompson knows what his value's not going to. He's not getting $43 million on his next deal. He's not getting a super max deal. Like, Klay Thompson, he's got the awareness. I think. I don't think it's fair to assume that he wouldn't take a lesser role or scale some things back here.
Well, I think in a contract year, people find that hard to see. That's why, and like the nature of every person in their walk of life, when you know that your deal is coming up, you want to maximize it. And even if you're starting high to negotiate somewhere in the middle, right? Because they're going to lowball you.
Right.
You want to be high, whatever. Like, I think also part of that is you don't want to accept a lesser role in that final year so that all your money is based off of said lesser role moving forward.
So, honest question, 888-957-9570. What did you expect from Klay Thompson when he came back from these two gruesome injuries?
Oh, he's exceeded my expectations.
No, because when he came back,
the fact he's back is
when he came back,
remarkable.
When he came back, I remember we were having conversations. You said it for months. I get so scared when he lands. I get so scared when he jumps. And you could tell with Klay, he doesn't at times trust himself when he jumps. Mm-hmm. So the fact that the young man went out there and averaged 22 points a game and led the league in 3-point makes. He led the league in 3-point makes. I think we need to recalibrate our expectations when it comes to Klay Thompson. Sure, he's stubborn, and he wants to regain that pre-2019 form. Well, it may never happen. That's why Steve Kerr comes out after the season and said, yeah, we need to have a conversation. He's not 27 no more. He's not 26 no more. He's not 28 no more. He's 33, coming off 2 devastating injuries. Remember Achilles injuries? Look at Rudy Gay. He's never been the same since he suffered.
But as you point to Rudy Gay, he also came off the bench.
He came off the bench later on.
And I actually think, surprisingly, Rudy Gay kind of evolved his game, which I didn't think he could.
But Rudy Gay was never Klay Thompson.
No, agreed.
He was never the player Klay Thompson was.
Totally agree.
Never. When Memphis moved out to Rudy Gay, they got better. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of guys who don't come back from that. So when you think about it, if he would have averaged, say, 14 points a game last season coming back from those leg injuries, and maybe you have a conversation about coming off the bench then, but the head coach said it right away. He's starting when he comes back, so kind of can't go back on your word, right? I think that would have been fair. The fact this guy led the league in 3-point makes, and if it was so easy, everybody be doing it.
Yeah,
the guy shot 40% from 3, and we're scoffing at that. We're scoffing at him shooting 40% from the 3-point line. Like, what this guy is doing is one of the most remarkable comebacks in sports history. So
it is.
I think it's fair. It's not fair to assume that, hey, going into the next season, knowing how the season played out, knowing how he got snuffed in these playoff series, there needs to be adjustment to his game. But I still think he's a very serviceable player in this league. But to assume that, hey, he's not going to take anything less than the max, I think that's unfair, especially for the family he comes from. But when we were talking about family this morning with John Morant and having the wherewithal and the awareness, you got Michael Thompson in your corner. You got Trace Thompson, and you got his older brother, Michael Thompson, as well. So I think that's unfair. Well, I think it's unfair.
I don't see anything unfair of saying, well, I got to see it before I can give him credit for anything. Like, that's all. I think when I look at Klay Thompson, it's like, all right, you want to talk about being a team player? Well, your actions are going to show us. Like, how are you gonna perform this offseason? What is it going to look like when you check in next year? So, like, everything that you're saying can be accurate, but we're not going to have any evidence to prove yes or no until October.
But why do we assume that he's not going to?
Because we're just going off what's happened because of what happened this year. That's all we have. The only runway we have to really point to is what's happened this year.
So what happened this year? What is it that, because going into the playoffs, we're like, boy, Klay's back. And he had 13 up and down games in the playoffs, and now we're just jumping the shark.
Yeah, we've overrated the playoff games. Yes, because they lost. Yeah, because we haven't seen that before. Another thing we haven't seen. We haven't seen this court lose that way, that time. And also, Monte, the evolution of sports. As players get older, they don't normally get better at this age in their life.
They don't.
Especially off of the injuries that you're talking about. So I think it's more just using your sports brain.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just feels like we just flip over to the other side and say what Klay's not going to do. We don't know what Klay's not going to do. We don't know what Klay's going to do.
Would you be surprised if he accept hypothetically? I don't want to play the who's in the start. Just if he did accept 26 minutes a night role where he is coming off the bench for whatever reason.
I think so.
You'd be surprised, or
I wouldn't be surprised.
You wouldn't be surprised. I'd be a little surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's a different role for him. It's a different. Like when Iggy started coming off the bench, I thought that was surprising. That was a different role for him, and he ended up having the fountain of youth with that. I think that extended his career longer, accepting a different role.
I think Klay would accept that. Now, would he accept it for a guy like Jordan Poole? He may think he's better than Jordan Poole. Why should he? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it depends who's starting in front of him, right? Because some of it is a big deal to some of these guys. It's obviously a big deal to Jordan Poole. Look at his splits. He wants to start.
But what if the coach is telling him, like, and so you're saying, oh, well, if it's Jordan Poole, I'm not doing it for that guy. But, like, at some
I don't
point,
think so.
the baton needs to be passed, I guess, for whoever it is. Jordan Poole, Moody, player X who's playing in front of him.
I think Klay, not only
like, that's a problem, I think, for people. That's the ego that people are talking about, where right there, I think you identified it when you're saying, yeah, I'll come off the bench to the right person, but not that guy.
Nah.
Like, that's not really how it works.
Yeah, it's not how it works. But should he let Poole start? Like, should Poole start for him coming off of that season? You got to go out there and earn it.
I just think you need to buy into whatever the team is thinking.
No. It's what you're doing for Kerr, I think. You open the competition up. All right. We know one starter in this team, Stephen Curry.
Okay.
Everything else is up for grabs. Let's go.
Yeah.
I like that old school process.
I would love that.